It's amazing how even the smallest things can sometimes push us right over the edge. You know, maybe someone cuts you up in traffic or bunks the queue in a shop, or you're just having one of those days when every little thing gets us frustrated. But have you ever just totally lost it? I don't just mean getting annoyed about something, but doing something you really wish you could take back. We took a family holiday just before my son Ben was moving up to big school. And over the months before, I'd been trying to persuade him that since he was getting a bit older, he wouldn't always be able to wear his favourite sports gear all of the time. And I thought, well, you know, you're moving up to a big school, maybe now'd be the time to try something new. But we just didn't see eye to eye. Anyway, we ended up at a shopping centre close to where we were staying. And it had loads of shops, so we couldn't get back home. So I thought, this is a great opportunity to get something good that isn't going to cost a fortune. The problem is, Ben and I had so many previous disagreements that when we actually got there, he was just having none of it. And I couldn't get my head around this. I thought, he's turning down stuff his friends would have loved. And so right there in the middle of the shop, I reached boiling point. And I totally lost it. Thankfully, no one seemed to see it. And even Ben says he doesn't remember. But have you ever seen someone lose their temper in a shop with their kids? It's pretty awkward to be around. You know, they blow, and then all of a sudden they remember where they are, and so they try and bottle it all up and get it all back together again. That's perfectly natural. We don't like people seeing our mistakes. That episode with Ben is just one in a long list for me. It reminds me that however much I might like to think I have it all together all of the time, I really don't. And yet, funnily enough, I still fall into the trap very easily of looking down on other people when they get it wrong and totally overlooking my own mistakes. Jesus really challenged that kind of attitude though. The religious types who liked to pretend they were perfect and looked down their nose at everyone else. In fact, it seems that he spent more of his time with people who were prepared to admit to their failures. That says a lot to me. That Jesus, whom I believe was God in the flesh, the only one who never messed up, the only one who never makes mistakes, would value that kind of honesty and reality in us. But it's kind of good to know I'm not alone in this. I'm not the only one who gets it wrong. And that one incident, well, it's just one in a long list of many others in my life. And even when I look at people in the Bible, the kind of people that you would think should have had it all together, well, it turns out they're just as flawed as the rest of us. It's in our nature. There's this guy called Peter, a fisherman who became a leading follower of Jesus. So many times you see Peter making mistakes and sticking his foot in it. But there are 2 points in his life that really stick out for me. The first time Peter and his crew have been fishing pretty much all night and they've caught nothing. So they're just about to give up when Jesus appears walking on the shoreline, and he calls out to them to give it another go. So they do. And amazingly, their nets are filled with fish, almost to breaking point. Well, Peter's so amazed, so overwhelmed that Jesus can do this, that he actually tells him to go away. He says, "Lord, I can't be near you. I'm just too evil." I guess Peter had started to realize something of who Jesus really was. The second time they're out fishing again, and it's not long after Peter has really messed up. He's denied that he even knows Jesus, his best friend, at a time when he really should have been there for him, just to save his own skin. Anyhow, again they fished all night, again they've caught nothing, and just as they're packing it in, again Jesus appears on the shore and tells them to try again. So they do, and amazingly the nets are filled again. But this time, instead of telling Jesus to go away, Peter actually jumps out of the boat and legs it to the shore to get to Jesus. And I found myself thinking, what has changed? Is Jesus not holy and perfect anymore? Is he not God in the flesh? Or is Peter not sinful, not flawed anymore? Or is he trying to pretend that he's better than he really is? No, I don't think so. Peter's actually painfully aware of his failure at this point in his life. So what has made the difference? What makes him go to Jesus this time? I think it's this. Peter has come to know that the only place anyone can take their failures is to Jesus. I know I found it really hard to humble myself and face the shame of apologising to my son. But Peter knew that going to Jesus had no shame or fear. In fact, it made total sense, because he now knew that Jesus was always ready to forgive.